Hey guys, so I come to you with part 2 of my haul, my big vacation haul. This is the part of the haul where I talk about books that I got for free. And I got for free from a few different places. So one I picked up at a sort of free library at a little basically convenience store that's really close to my family's cabin up in the Adirondacks in upstate New York. Um, and I got one book there, and then I got a bunch of books, or a few books at a for free stand outside of a thrift store in the same town over from my family's cabin. And then a few books. Oh no, I'm gonna do those books in the next video. Sorry. Okay, forget I started that next sentence. Anyway, I will talk about the books that I got for free. So, to start with the one that I got from the free library, this is His Excellency George Washington by Joseph Ellis, and yeah, so this is a slim biography of Washington, and Joseph Ellis has won the Pulitzer in the past, and I have been thinking I would like to read a biography of George Washington soon, because obviously he's an important figure in American history. But yeah. So when I saw this for free, I was for one thing I was super surprised to see it in a free library at a town of 500 people. But anyway, yeah. So I can read about George Washington when I want to. I was thinking that I would try to read the Ron Chernow biography of George Washington, because was critically acclaimed, won the Pulitzer Prize and everything. But this will be a place to start. I may still read the Ron Chernow biography in the future if I still have the appetite for reading about George Washington. Anyway, on to the books from the thrift store. The first one isn't really a book; it's actually a journal. This is American Poet. This is the Journal of the Academy of American Poets, and it's only released twice a year, and I believe the spring and fall. And it just it publishes poems, both by living poets who are just getting their work published, and by dead poets. There's a poem by Frank O'Hara in here, which I really liked. And also has essays, really short essays. The essays will be will just be like that, 2 pages. So short essays, usually discussing like one poem. Yeah, and I poked through it, in my spare time on vacation, and I was really enjoying it. So, actually a subscription to this journal is only like $35 a year. I looked it up, and honestly, I liked reading this so much that I might consider subscribing. I don't know. But yeah, I like being able to sample poets' work like this in little snippets like this, which something like this would be perfect for. So, and I love essays about individual poems. They really tend to make me see poems in a new light, much more. They help me get a deeper understanding of a poem than just reading the poem repeatedly. Yeah, the cat is having fun today. She's happy that I just got home, so she's probably upset that I'm not paying attention to her. Anyway, so yeah, this was a cool find. And again, like a weird thing to find in like a for free shelf at a bookstore, or at a thrift store, but whatever, we take what we can get. The next two, the first one is God Bless You Mr Rosewater by Kurt Vonnegut. I have been wanting to read more Kurt Vonnegut for quite some time. I've read 3 of his books, and liked 2 of them quite a lot, and one of them didn't really like. The one I didn't like was Cat's Cradle, but The Sirens of Titan is one of my favorite books ever, and Slaughterhouse-Five I really enjoyed. But yeah, I've heard really good things about God Bless You Mr Rosewater, and the blurbs on this copy make me think that I will really like it, because it just sounds like a kind of dark comedy that just sort of satirizes the human condition, essentially. So yeah, I was glad to find that. Next one was sounds like a weird book. I'd never heard of it before. But I mostly grabbed it because it was for free. I don't think I would have spent money on it. But it's The Phenomenon of Man by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, who is a French Jesuit priest, or was a French Jesuit priest. And the sense I read a little bit on the Wikipedia page about this book, and it sounds like it's basically about Chardin's theory that all of history has been essentially moving towards greater and greater sort of cognitive complexity in culminating in the human brain. And he's supposed to make some predictions about, where we're headed or were headed. This was published, I think, back in the 50s or 60s, or maybe even the 70s. But, yeah, I don't know. It sounded interesting. I mean, he starts basically from the creation of the universe and goes through the evolution of life on Earth and forward through human evolution and human history, and makes this argument, again, that, history has been moving towards this culmination of cognitive complexity, which sounds kind of hokey dokey and like it might be bogus, but again, I just thought it sounded like such a weird, interesting book that I couldn't, and it was because it was for free, I couldn't resist grabbing it. So yeah, one of the weirdest things I grabbed. Next is this book, which doesn't tell you much, but this is The Children of Light and the Children of Darkness by Reinhold Niebuhr. And Reinhold Niebuhr was an American theologian. He actually has a volume in the Library of America. And in this book, so the subtitle of this book is kind of long. It's A Vindication of Democracy and a Critique of its Traditional Defense. And I actually read this. I finished it on the plane coming back home. And it's one of the best books I've read this year so far. It's about essentially what Niebuhr argues in it is that we in the West base our ideas about democracy on a vision of human nature that's too optimistic, essentially. We don't take into account the fact that a lot of people are not just sort of out for their own self-interest, not just out to get by in the world, but, actively want to achieve greatness, in a sense, and also want to, are greedy to the point of exploiting others. And we don't take that into account when thinking about democracy in the West. And he essentially discusses the negative effect that has on democracy, but also ends up defending democracy. And I thought it was just fascinating. I'm not going to be able to do it justice in this haul video, but I thought it was just fascinating. I wish I started reading it without a pencil in hand, so I wasn't able to underline or anything or take notes. So I don't think I'm going to be able to make a video about it, which is too bad, because it'd be a great book to make a video about, because I thought it was just fascinating. But yeah, I highly recommend it. Don't know where you're going to find it. I don't really think it's in print anymore, except in that Library of America volume of Reinhold Niebuhr's work. But if you do find it, then I think you should grab it, because it's good and honestly more relevant than ever. Honestly, I was reading it the whole time and just thinking how prophetic it was and how relevant it was to our current age. I mean, he wrote it in 1946, so a lot of what he wrote was very influenced by, the fact that World War II had just ended, but perhaps just as, if not more, relevant today. So, yeah, anyway, that is Reinhold Niebuhr. I also picked up a copy of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey, but I don't know what happened to it. I didn't find it in my duffel bag, and I didn't... yeah, I don't know where that is, but I did pick up a copy of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Maybe I left it at home or something, but anyway, that is also a book that I acquired, although I may not have it. But anyway, yeah, so again, any thoughts on these books? I would love to hear, and yeah, I'll talk to you all in my next part of this haul video, so bye guys!